talking about LinkedIn and how it's hopefully going to help you in your job search. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Steve. I run a company called Executive Connections. We work with senior level executives primarily in terms of career coaching and outplacement. Been doing that under this banner since 2014, and prior to that, been doing other sorts of coaching as well. This series is about picking out some of those subjects that seem to come up over and over again. So like LinkedIn, CVs, interview skills, etc., etc. Everything is very personalized to everyone. Own individual needs, of course. So a session like this, I'm covering things in a more kind of generic way, and you can, as I say, at the end, ask some questions, and we can take it from there. So we work with people all over the globe, pretty much, whether it be from large organizations through to individuals in terms of coaching. So that's pretty much us on a plate. Some ideas of clients. I will say very quickly that what we also have is just a quick screen there, and these are recorded, by the way. So some of the things I mentioned will be relevant to people who view the recording, of which there are many more than actually turn up live. So just an idea of some of the people we work with, some of the experiences they've had. I just want to ground this in reality. So some of the things we're talking about on LinkedIn here today, these people put those things into action to great success. So I said that bit, short presentation, bit of Q&A at the end. Have some questions lined up if you can. Doesn't need to be about LinkedIn. Some of this is 101 stuff, I would describe it as, or very straightforward, basic stuff, but I don't want to take anything for granted. I want to cover things that are going to help you if you're not already in that situation. So, it's quite amazing that you're 21 times more likely to have a view if you've got a photograph than if you haven't got a photograph. I assume you all have by now, and I assume it's the kind of photograph that's been, that is relatively sort of professional in context. People just like to see who they're dealing with. It's just a human trait, isn't it? So a couple of things to pick out on this particular slide. Some bits we've sort of like grabbed from different locations. So taking it from the top left, you see where it says service just above the John Smith photo. So he's using his background banner to great effect. Again, some people do this, but not everyone. The reason for doing it is it will just keep more people on your profile for a little bit longer. A few seconds here, a few seconds there. It all builds up to help keep people on your profile. When we talk about SEO there, down the bottom of that first little sort of orange background image, that refers actually to what's happening below. See the way that Philly there has put SEO umpteen times throughout his profile and just making sure that he's actually covering all the bases with that. It doesn't need to be so as that. It doesn't need to be so blunt as that. But just bear in mind that even if you put keywords, if you're looking for a VP in finance, a chief information officer role, a head of role, and you can sort of pepper those phrases sensibly throughout your profile all the way down the page. Doesn't matter if it's a few years old, LinkedIn will still pick it out as part of that sort of search engine optimization kind of piece, so to speak. So going over now to Lynn there on the right, another example of a good background photo, obviously, where it refers to the headline. Talks about it being catchy, keyword rich, etc. People do this in different ways. Some people will put a list of keywords that relates to the role that they're in or the role they're aspiring to. So it could be chief information officer, separator, IT director, separator, head of IT. Somebody's trying to cover all the bases there when LinkedIn is doing its algorithm piece and people are searching for people like you or like that person. That's one way of doing it. It's a bit sort of impersonal, though. I think the way that Lynn's example there does it, it's doing that descriptive piece. So how you help people, the value you bring to whom, that kind of statement. And that's another thing that obviously people that we're working with, we go into that in a bit more detail. I wanted to keep this slide up as well just for a tiny bit longer because a couple of things there you'll see on the contact info. Sometimes people use this and populate it well. Other times they don't. Maybe there's a privacy sort of concern, but just use it to the best, to the best effect that you can. And right at the very, very bottom there, where Lynn Cumont has personalized her URL. So you can go into your profile. All it does is turn it into something a little bit shorter and a little bit more manageable, and a little bit more kind of sensible looking. So maybe you can just try your name or joined up together in one long word, or you can try something else that relates to what you're doing. But it's better than having that big long hodgepodge of numbers and letters if you haven't already personalized that. So make sure you've got keywords, make sure you've got your photo, make sure you personalized your URL. The headline piece, the piece we were just talking about, head communicator at Communicate, the top social media and marketing agency in London, that piece there. So relating to that, you've got up to 220 characters. That does include spaces and commas and all of that. So if you go onto your mobile, you can hack that a little bit to a higher number of characters if you wish, and then it will translate into the desktop version of LinkedIn. So, but as standard, 220 characters. That's quite a bit. It's probably a bit more than was in that previous example that we showed there. But think about your specialty. Think about what value you bring to the table. That's what it's about. And think about those keywords as well, being sensibly peppered. I would describe it as throughout your profile, going down the page. And you'll have seen other headlines, some sort of crazy ones. They grab your attention. You've got to kind of play it to your own brand, really. Is it authentic to you to have something like that? But just play around with it, change it, experiment. It's totally up to you. What you do with that. I've got character frenzy at the moment. I've been counting how many characters you get in different areas and making sure this information is up to date from this morning. So in the about section, you've got 2,600 characters. Now that's way more than many people actually use. So it gives you a whole big piece of real estate to include, as it says on the right-hand side here, a little bit more about you as an individual. It's okay to have a couple of sentences, a couple of points where you may say a little bit about your hobbies and interests. I appreciate it's a professional platform, but LinkedIn is different from your CV, and that's the takeaway there, really. So it's your elevator pitch, but obviously it's a pretty elongated version of that elevator pitch. Just a thing I've just recalled actually, but it's not on the screen, is that think about the first, we can look this up as to how many words or characters this is, but on mobile, you will see only the first few words will appear before it goes into the ... and you've got to show more, as it will say. So think about how you're starting it off. What's the bit that you really want people to see when they go onto your profile, even if they're on mobile? But 2,600, that's that's an amazing amount of space to use. So I would recommend utilizing it to the best effect. I've talked to a few people recently about personal brand and just consistency of that. Using the same photograph on different branding. If you've got a YouTube channel, if you've got a Twitter account, or an X account, if you've got any other social media and you're relating it as being relatively business oriented, use the same photo, use the same branding. Think about the content that does reflect your expertise. If you want to write about your mountain biking exploits or your cave diving or whatever you've done, that is fine. I don't have any objection to that. But think about your own professional expertise. That's the primary thing. You're trying in your job search, remember, this is all coming back to your job search. You're trying to get more people to look at you. You're trying to get across more people's radar. So, reflecting and sharing content that really reflects and shows your expertise is the main thing. Just lastly, on building relationships, it's quite a difficult one. Everyone's different about this. Some people will be quite, urgent in their need to land a new role. Other people might have a fairly long runway to that eventuality. So Either way, try to think about it in terms of relationship building when you're sending out new connect requests, you're talking to new people in your network, and just making sure that you're not coming across as pushy, salesy, needy, any of those things. It's kind of difficult, I appreciate, but it's important in terms of keeping that personal brand strong and just making sure that you come across in the right way. So the experience section, this is the bit I talked about in terms of SEO, which I've noted there already anyway. So this is the piece around listing your relevant roles and all your responsibilities, not just putting a quick line about what you've done. Think about the SEO, think about the keywords, think about people wanting to know what you've done and what your main core achievements are, what's going to keep them on your LinkedIn profile. That's the key piece. When I say quantify, doesn't always apply. I know people in HR, for example, may not have monetary or percentage based results that they can put out there to the world. Human impact results are fine as well, but where you can, where possible, and within the realms of confidentiality and what you are comfortable to put out there, multi-million dollar, multi-million pound project is fine. You don't have to put the exact amount, you don't have to put exactly what it was about. People want to see the level at which you're working at. That's the important point. And by the way, by attending today, and even if you registered, actually, you will receive the recording, so you can play this back and try and make sense of the bits that maybe haven't stuck, or try and activate some of the bits that you really want to get moving on LinkedIn. Some new, well, they're not so much new now, really, but newsletters. I don't know if anyone here's got a newsletter. I have. So you can do that. You need to be in. You need to double check this, and my colleague Dorcas is on the call. Maybe we can double check this as well. That you need to be in creator mode, which is a mode that you can select on LinkedIn. Being in creator mode just opens up a few other options to LinkedIn. So you can create a newsletter. It could be a newsletter about your given subject area, and people will sign up to it, and people will see your thought leadership starting to grow, starting to emerge. If they don't know you, they don't know what you're about. So you can use it as a tool. You can publish these newsletters weekly, monthly, whatever floats your boat. So, and all the bits about stories and postings and articles and so on, I would recommend doing that. Maybe a couple of posts a week. I know I do, certainly probably saturate it. I do a lot more than that, but certainly a couple of posts a week will help to get you across more people's radar. The phrase that I keep sort of throwing out there, for people to use. So the messaging tools for a direct outreach. So you've got different things in terms of the basic connect requests. So you've got connect requests, you've got LinkedIn Sales Navigator, which sometimes people will use as well in their job search. There's some quite interesting tactics about that, which we can kind of talk about on a one-to-one basis if you want to do that. There's always the invitation to do that following a call like this. And you'll see the links in a minute. They might well already be in the chat, which I can't see at the moment. But there are lots and lots of means. So connecting, make the connection personalized, make the follow-up personalized. Think about what you're trying to achieve throughout the whole piece. Doing all right for time. So skills, endorsements, and recommendations. I was thinking about this slide before we came on, and I think there's a lot to be said for sort of giving, not in the expectation of receiving, but giving anyway. If you've got colleagues that you would like to offer an endorsement to, then please do that. And I mean, as much as a testimonial, not there, a testimonial as well. So a full testimonial is often a way to attract one back to you. That can really help to build on your credibility. These are all little sections of the profile that are either focused on or neglected to one degree or another. And when you're in a job search particularly, and when you're in the role even after that, I would still suggest using LinkedIn to promote your thought leadership, even if you're only using it once a week for a few minutes at that point. But certainly in the job search, you use everything. Use everything to your advantage. Really, this is just retrospective in a way because we've covered some of this. I think that make sure your profiles are all sort of completed, obviously, and you're using some of those character counts that I mentioned earlier on to make sure that you're using it to the best effect. Generic outreach is an issue. You know, people will just click on connect. That's fine, but it often helps to put a supporting message in to say, noticed your company, love what you're doing there. Be good to connect and have a quick chat. Anything like that as a opening line, depending on the scenario, of course. And on a totally different subject, but generic jumped out at me. A few people that before they started working with us have mentioned that in interviews they fell flat by providing generic answers as well. So always think about personalizing things there and telling stories. And it certainly applies here as well. Number 3, yes, guilty, probably over posting, but it's about getting your message out there. So I would suggest at least a couple of times a week from your own point of view. If you're in a job search, why are you doing it? To get across more people's radar. That's it. So groups, I've had a love-hate relationship with groups, really. I'm in a few groups, but I don't really participate that much in them. They used to have a reputation for being quite spammy and just people promoting things all the time. So have a look at your own professional kind of level or relevant groups and just have a look around in them. Join one or two. You can always leave them if they're not relevant to you. It just means that there will be more people, more peers in there for you to discuss about job search strategies and things like that. And obviously you've got recruiter networks that have their own groups as well. But like I say, just monitor it, be aware of the spam kind of factor. Don't be put off by what I'm saying about groups. I'm sure they do have their use. It's just extending your reach. So I would suggest experimenting with them and seeing if they work for you. Yep, so we've talked about the content. How do we do it? Ordinary postings. So again, it's one thing I haven't got a character count on, but there's a high character count on a general post these days. And obviously you can add images, you can do sort of sliding, scrolling, sort of carousel PDF presentations. There's all sorts of stuff that you can do that's different from just putting out a post. So just think about what you want to do. And I would suggest just getting it on a Word document and just putting out a few post ideas, maybe break them down into different categories that fall within your areas of expertise. And then what you're looking to do is to share your expertise through bite-sized chunks, but also inviting a question really at the end to try and get some movement going within that post. A bit more to it than that, I suppose, but that's some basic ideas that should get you started, I hope. Just in terms of hardcore job search, I always talk to people about the hidden jobs market and that whole piece about, getting seen by more people, but it doesn't mean you shouldn't set up your job alerts and make sure all that part under the job tab on your profile, it's all set up and you're getting notifications daily or weekly or however much you want to get these notifications. But, I would assume that you've got certain notifications set up already if you're in a situation of job search at the moment. Excuse me. So it's highlighted for a reason, that top piece. I've talked about profile and profile completeness and sort of trying to get as far towards excellence as possible in terms of your profile, but then actually not sitting on LinkedIn 8 hours a day, but doing some targeted connect requests, posting, responding to messages, looked at who's viewed your profile, perhaps responding to anyone that looks interesting or useful and trying to set up a conversation with them if they look useful. So the proactivity is what I'm saying is the important part. It's just as, if not more important than having a nice profile, which you just sit back and wait and see what happens with it. By engaging, you will get the results. And we've certainly worked with lots of people who've had really good results from being much more proactive on on their LinkedIn activity. The difficulty with it is, I suppose, that it's not the same as just clicking a box that says, a button that says apply here. It's kind of building things out. It's creating a strategy to get you noticed more. It feeds into that piece about anyone who might be sort of slightly panicking about the amount of time they've been in their job search or whatever it might be. I would just advise you to remain as resilient and calm as you can, and just keep the strategy going. Have it as part of your job search strategy, the whole LinkedIn piece, I mean. If you want to gravitate back towards just clicking apply and all of that stuff, it's fine. But you're missing out on a big trick if you don't engage in LinkedIn. And I'm not affiliated in any way with LinkedIn, by the way, having said all of that. I should have said that at the start. But keep consistent about your profile and your updates. Be authentic in what you're doing. The who's viewed my profile piece is important. It's more important if you've got a free account still, because I still believe they only let you see a certain amount of people on that section. So they'll disappear off the bottom of the page if you don't have a premium account. Again, I'm not aware that they're not offering free trials at the moment. They may or may not be, but you can always investigate if they're offering a free trial of a premium account if you don't already have one. And one of the benefits of that is, apart from seeing more search result pages and things you're looking for, is that your who's viewed my profile will scroll sort of ad infinitum, basically, so you need to just have that enabled so you can just see who is useful that's looking at you. If you don't want to do a paid account or even a trial account, if they still offer it, then just make sure you check it daily, really. It's only a two-second job. So think about any questions you might have. I've got a couple more things to run through just briefly, but think about any questions you might have, or what activities you might be going away to do, even if there's one thing on LinkedIn that you would take away from this. Oh yeah. We've got another event happening actually at the end of the month as well, and we're going to go into the hidden job market as well. It'll relate to what we've talked about to an extent, and we'll just dig a bit deeper into some of the tactics behind that, or the rationale behind it. It's really the amount of jobs that are advertised versus the amount of jobs that are not advertised. That's what that session's all about, and why you should try and engage and try and leverage and get underneath the bonnet, get underneath the hood, wherever you are, of that particular subject area. So you're welcome to register for that. That'll be highlighted on my LinkedIn profile at some point anyway. So these links should be in the chat box. The reason I bring up this screen is that many people view the recordings, as I might have mentioned. So if you're we haven't had a one-to-one chat, or we had one a long time ago and you want to revisit it, it's the link at the top. And plenty of HR people look at this as well, where there might be some redundancies in process. So you guys have a different link, and that's the reason we show it now. So what I'd like to do now is come back in and have an idea as to what kind of questions might have been raised. I can come back and see you guys all again. So here we are. Thank you for your attention there. Hope that was useful. So has anyone got anything they immediately want to ask about the presentation, or about any other sort of subject area to do with your job search?
Not a question as such, Steve. Morning, it's
Okay.
Girish. No, that was
I'll come
useful.
to you.
Sorry, did I have to raise my hand?
No, that's all right. I forgot to do the etiquette bit at the start of this, so don't worry about that.
Apologies if I've jumped the queue. No, I think not a question as such, but just kind of a remark. So I'm naturally social media shy,
Yes.
even though kind of I've had an active profile, like you've said. I've not been proactively, engaging or posting content. I think my first step would be to kind of understand what I should be contributing on, and what I can use to kind of engage the
Yes.
network
Okay.
with. I think that's my first step, and that's probably something that I need to kind of start thinking about.
Yeah, I think so. I think it comes back to something around, just a a Word document and just think about breaking your, it's a bit like thinking about a job description, I suppose. Just thinking about what you do, think about those areas. Just say for the sake of argument, there were 6 areas. Each of those 6 areas might then subsequently break down into 2 or 3 other things. Whether that kind of idea works for you, or whether you're more of a spider diagram person, or whether you like to do things in a much more structured way, is totally up to you. But it's any way that's going to generate ideas. And then once you've got those ideas, um, brainstorming the issues, maybe the challenges that organizations face within those particular subject areas. So, and I'm not talking about posting things that say, if you're having problems with such and such, it's got to be done in a way that is authentic to you, coming back to your original piece. Um, if no one's doing the sort of, all the jazz hands, and that's not their style, then it shouldn't be their style. So it's got to be authentic to you for sure. But I would say whatever you're doing, just try and do a couple of posts a week, and it might well be on your given subject, your area of expertise, breaking it down, saying, one of the things I've learned in my professional career is that businesses often face issues with all of that. For other people, fill in the gap with your sector area. For other people in the sector, what are your thoughts on this? And then that's the kind of invitation to try to get involved in that conversation. And don't be worried if the first few are like tumbleweed land. It can just happen. It's part of an ongoing piece. And it really will help you get across more people's radar. Sorry, I've said that about 6 times today, but it does really make a difference. I'm just reminded of an example of someone um, who got an engagement and got a role, I think, in the end, and was posting, and the person said, "Yeah, I've actually looked at all your posts, all your videos, whatever the person was doing at the time, but had never once liked or commented or shared or anything of that nature, along the way." So it's just about having faith about what's out there and and what's going to happen following. It's collateral you're building up along the way as well. So I hope that helps, Girish.
Yeah, thanks, Steve.
Okay, no worries. Hi, Anna.
Hi, Steve.
Hi.
Yes, just a tip that I thought might be helpful. You can generate a QR code in LinkedIn, which can be very, very useful to have and when you're meeting new contacts. And then if you download you put your text in like a like notepad or something like that. So if you're trying to move things quickly, then it's a good way if your phone goes down. But I've just Googled some videos, but people can do that for themselves. But it's a very useful tip if it's helpful to everyone.
Right, okay. So that is, you're getting the actual code for um the
Yeah.
thing, which then you email to people or you put it on your profile. How would people be using that?
I'm not totally sure, but from what I understand, it's a very, very much quicker way of getting people to connect with you instead of writing down notes. You just quickly exchange QR codes on your phone, is my understanding of it. So it really
Yeah,
does speed things up. So I've spoken to a couple of people who live by it and think it's wonderful. It's not something I use, so when you're asking more in-depth questions, I'm not totally sure, but I've heard that it's a very, very good way of using things
yes.
and saving time.
I think now you say that, I think that I've seen that in a on the back of a business card as well, or something
Yeah,
already. So sometimes people will create a business card purely during that little job search window and hopefully end up with lots of them still sitting on the shelf. But if they're going to networking events and things like that, then yeah, I think that could be another way of using that for
I
sure.
think it was more in that context rather than having business cards. You could just swap your QR codes, which saved a lot of time.
Yes, got you. Okay, thanks for that, Anna. Appreciate
You're
it.
welcome. No
We'll
problems.
add that in to the next presentation on this very subject as well and look a bit more into it. So thanks for that. Great stuff. Okay. So we've got D. Pete, Yolanda, Edburn, David. Any questions either on LinkedIn or anything that occurs to you within your job search at the moment that you feel like sharing, by the way? The links, I should say, in the chat, they're kind of one-to-one booked conversations with myself. But if you want to ask a question within LinkedIn chat, you don't feel the need to have a one-to-one at this point, then that's fine as well. Also, you can use the chat to ask a question if you prefer to do so, depending on how you feel about these things. So Edburn, I see you've unmuted, Edwin, you've unmuted yourself. Did you want to ask a question? You're muted at the moment, I think, or your microphone is. It's still muted. Nobody else can hear Edwin, can they? No, it's okay. Just in case it was just me. Aha, okay. The pressure's on. This is Zoom 101. So bottom left hand. If you're using, if it depends if you're using the page or the app. I know I'm using the desktop app, and the audio is on the bottom left hand corner next to the video icons. But are you using the app or the website? Right, okay. Think of it this way, right? This at least is not a job interview, is it? But sorry, I'm even joking about things sometimes like that. But it really does happen. Maybe pop it, and I appreciate your efforts on this, but maybe just pop a question in its basic form in the chat, and I can then kind of respond to it in the meantime. So
Hello?
that sounds like it.
Hello?
Yes, indeed.
Wow. That was a little bit funny. Look, it was not a comment, question. Help me to reframe this. So what I noticed is that in the moment, as simple as making a congratulations or a posting, as a appraisal for one of your colleagues, immediately triggers so much traffic, to your profile that it was a little bit even intimidating, because I was looking at like, okay, wow, I only have said, congratulations for your new role, and all of a sudden I have even headhunters contacted me. So I was like, oh, I'm ready for this. So
Wow.
yeah, exactly. But the point is that beyond on that particular of like apprising your colleagues, what I have been very careful in the things that I post, and I have been posting very little things of successful at work, but also things, that even from my personal experience can relate very nicely, like with things at work and how you collaborate at work. The question that I have is that what I feel very, very inclined to is to ask people that have made a post, or even not to challenge, but just like help me to understand, because I am curious about the topic, and I have been, because of your post, it has been triggered even several conversations with my colleagues at work. And I'm terrified of the effect of this can happen, with the views or the vital effect that this can trigger. Okay, because I mean, I follow in one individual that posts a lot of things about FMCGs, and it's funny because some of these posts have triggered a lot of good discussions internally, so then I really wanted to come back to him to say, like, help me to understand, but I'm terrified of, like, well, if only by congratulating someone, like I have had that many views, even
Yes.
if I trigger, this viral cycle of comments, what can happen?
So help me to understand, is this in the context of a job search, or just the amount of engagement that you might feel obliged to do in regards to LinkedIn, just in the workplace in general?
Is to both,
Yeah.
because when you are making that level of comment, and it gets a lot of engagement, it also triggers attention that triggers to not job search, but jobs finding you,
Yes.
maybe involuntarily,
Yes.
which also is a brilliant opportunity to open, for, different ideas. So it's a combination of the both, not necessarily proactively searching, but as result of triggering that compensation, because it triggered that engagement, it all of a sudden creates that knock-on effect of attention and job, not search, but finds, it's jobs finds.
It sounds good to me. I mean, my feeling and what you're saying is that that's all positive, but is it that it's a little bit just scary, the amount of feedback?
The part that I do not know how to handle well is if I'm going to trigger a question for somebody that has a lot of recognition, not recognition, but is actively posting and known in the topic. And if I start asking questions, how can I ask a question that not does not trigger a conflict debate, but a healthy debate, and because that is gonna create a viral effect.
Yeah.
And I'm a little bit concerned on how to put it in a way that triggers curiosity in others and collaborate, in that discussion, rather than only, like, oh, okay, here, nice post, but in a constructive, proactive way, that is
Yes.
not misunderstood of like, I'm attacking you. Not a way, you're an eminent on this topic. I'm just trying to get some clarification, some guidance, and a healthy debate.
Yes, understand. Okay. I think the best thing to do with this, maybe we can, I don't think we're connected on LinkedIn. If we can connect, I'd love to see some of the examples that you're talking about. Maybe you could link me to them, and then I would be able to, we can get onto the LinkedIn
Okay,
chat perhaps, or something like that, and then try
of
and
course.
just throw some ideas around. That might be a way to do it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for
All
that.
right.
I'm sorry, I didn't want to debate the conversation, because it is job
It is
this
that though.
related. It's
We
very
could
much
talk about it
related.
for an hour. That's the thing. So I don't mind doing that, but it's probably best if we do it on the LinkedIn format or email or however you
Yeah.
like, really. But I'm certainly happy to help and take it further. Definitely.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anyone have any thoughts about that or anything else on the job front? No, we might be naturally reaching towards the end of the session there. I take it everyone's noted the links there. I hope you got something out of the session. Just do this. I won't pick on you for a question, but have you got at least one thing? Just raise your hand. Have you got one thing that you can put into action from that presentation? No. So I've got one thing. My one thing is the barcode that Anna said. So I'll be doing something about that for sure. Anna, I think you've raised your hand again. Yes, excellent.
Oh yeah, sorry. It was just to say that yeah, it was exactly for the purposes of networking offline. It's a very easy way to do things. So that's the QR code. That's being yeah, look it up. But yes, so I was saying it was useful, and my hand up was to say I'd learned something. So thank you.
Answering the question that I just asked, yeah. Yes, I'm with you. I'm with you. Remember your own questions, Steve. Hey, thanks, guys. Hope you have a really good rest of the day. Eden, if you did want to ask just a supplementary thing quickly, we can do that, or I'll see you offline, whichever way you want to play it. But
One last question, if you don't mind, specifically for the job search, is very sensitive, to the keywords that you put it as your preferences. And what I have noticed is that it doesn't really come naturally, on it's not coming well on the filters, of what I'm intending, to really focus in on. And I don't know if it's because of the title, if because how it's on the job description. How is the search works? It works from the title, it works on the content. How does it work?
so the very first thing that LinkedIn will look for is the piece that sort of says helping organizations to such and such and such. So your headline just underneath your photograph, that piece, that's the first place that it looks. That's why I talk about using all of those. I think it was 220 or 260 if you use it in mobile. Yeah, so that's the first place. The second place that it looks is in your most recent role. So it's important to have those two areas really sort of well optimized. And yeah, I think you can go on with those. There are other places. Those are two of the top. Those are two of the top ones, for sure. I think what some people also do is I can only give you the Windows version of this. I don't know what Apple keyboard would be, but like just doing a Control F and searching for how many instances of a certain keyword you've got on your LinkedIn profile page. It will do that. So if you're really trying to target finance director and you put that in under Control F and you see it's there twice, then it probably needs to be there at least 10 or 15 times somewhere throughout the profile, to really help that. But yeah, so just make sure the headline's optimized and the most recent role has all of the keywords that you want to be found for. Those are two really key areas.
Thank you.
All right, guys, have a good rest of your morning. Anna, you've unmuted. Did you want to say something else quickly before I close off?
No, that was fine, Stu. Thank you. Very helpful.
No problemo. No problem. I'm just aware if someone's unmuted, they might want to speak. That's all. So I'll see you guys perhaps next time. Remember, you've got the 30th of the month and we're talking about the hidden job market. Always on LinkedIn to answer any questions that come up about your own situation, and a couple of conversations I've had. Look forward to hearing from you guys in due course. Have a good rest of your day, everyone. All right. All the best for now.